Welcome to Whiskey Angels. Thanks for joining us again as we dive into some more cask strength chaos. In this episode, we have an exciting guest joining us today, Natalie Jayne Clark, who is a neurodivergent author, poet and producer, writing from Perth, Scotland, where she overlooks the ever-changing vista of Canoe Hill. And you've made a debut novel, which is The Malt Whisky Murders, a darkly funny crime tale, I'm reliably informed by my phone as I'm reading it, which is published by Polygon Books and has already been shortlisted for the prestigious Bloody Scotland Debut Prize, which is pretty cool.
All true.
It's all true. It's all true. So we're going to be diving into The Malt Whisky Murders, which is down here. Let's hear a little bit about you to start with, because you're not new to whiskey or to writing for that matter. How did this all come about? How did you start in whiskey?
Well, there's a scene in the book with my protagonist, Ailey, where she's waiting for the bus up to uni to go write an essay at the library. The bus is late, she has a £5 in her pocket, and the brand new whiskey pub has opened up. So she decides that £5 would be much better spent in there. And that is exactly what happened to me, basically. That is lifted exactly from...
That's from real life. I did wonder, I saw the reference in your bio to Sterling, and I also read that bit in the book as well. So yeah, I did go, maybe. Yeah. So is that where
So that's where it started. Yeah,
is that the only similarity?
Pretty much. That's the main similarity. Okay. There's always going to be little bits of you in your life in all your characters in some senses. But yeah, I was 19, and before that I'd had kind of famous grouse snuck out of a hip flask at Kaylee's or something like that, or at parties and things. But I'd never really appreciated or had a whiskey before, and I just thought I was just a strong old man drink that's just, they're all brown and it all looks the same and it all smells the same, and just that one experience of that one whiskey really opened up my eyes to what it could be. And actually I am someone that falls quite hard in love with something, quite deeply with something, as soon as I get hooked on whatever that is. It could be a TV program, it could be a band, it could be a genre of something. I'm all in, and that's all I'm focus on for at least a couple of weeks. But I've said strangely, or not strangely, whiskey has been one of my more enduring ones. It's not just been a fleeting couple of weeks. It has been since then, 15 years now. So I was 19 and I had a couple of friends that worked in bars at the time, and I just went to more and more whiskey tastings. I kept trying all the malts of the month. For example, I think that's a really good way of getting into whiskey at a reasonable price, and sort of it's almost like curated or selected for you in some way, a malt of the month.
And that's how you started that journey? That's
how I started that journey, yeah.
And then you've continued to study it effectively and become a whiskey ambassador as well. So what does that mean in terms of, as a role, what do you do?
So a whiskey ambassador, it's the UK's first accredited course. There's been plenty for wine and things like that. It's typically aimed at people who actually work in the industry. But I think the world of whiskey tasting is a little bit more freelance anyway. It's a lot more, bespoke tastings, tours and things like that. Whereas that wine might be more in restaurants and bars and things like that. Although, for example, I think Creef Hydro have a whiskey I can never say the word properly. Sommelier.
Question myself as I say it, but something like that.
Something like that. And they're trained on that, and that's their job. So it is more aimed like that. But I saw it was coming to Perth, and I could just do a course in Perth where I live. And I love whiskey, and I wanted to learn more about it. I wanted to know more of actually like the business marketing side, I guess, was what they were talking about as well, and the statistics of it. How many gallons are currently being matured in casks across the country. How many people work in the industry, that sort of thing. The money it brings in terms of taxes and it being an export and where it's exported to, all that kind of side of it, as well as then the tasting and discussing the regions and sampling. So it was very practical and theoretical at the same time.
Kind of gives you a bit of a structure, doesn't it? Because otherwise you kind of haphazardly bounce around randomly, which is the way I've kind of got to know whiskey. It's just like random haphazard bouncing.
Yeah, it's wherever I've gone on holiday.
Yeah, exactly. It's literally that process. Yeah.
And in a way that's kind of nice. I think that's a discovery of it. And I think for me, a lot of my favourite whiskies have memories attached to them. Like Talisker will always be a really strong memory for me because it was a really lovely holiday that, me and my husband took before we were married actually. And it was a beautiful sunshine-filled holiday.
West Coast weather.
West Coast. Well, it was beautiful, whereas everyone was saying normally it rains all the time on Skye. And they were saying, the Skye's really beautiful when it doesn't rain all the time. And we felt really blessed. We'd been there for a few days, no rain at all. Yeah. We went to visit Talisker on one of our last days, and they'd had to half their whiskey production because there was no water. There was not enough spring water. And they were saying, if it doesn't rain for like 3 or more days or something, we might have to stop production. Yeah. And so we'd been like, wow, we're so blessed, we're so grateful. And Talisker, our main ingredient, really.
Our main ingredient's by running it well, but you've still got like 12 years of whiskey.
Yeah, exactly. There's hunters there.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine, yeah. So a Talisker will always remind me of that holiday, and the beautiful food we had there.
Yeah. No, I think it's always nice to kind of hook something around a whiskey and an experience, isn't it? It really does kind of give you a flavour of the place as well in your own mind. So that was the whiskey side of it, the kind of kindling the interest in whiskey. And then what about the writing side of it?
Yeah, well, like how some parents look at their kids and they're like, they're going to be a footballer, like they're already like scoring goals. When I got my book deal, my mum was telling me a story of when I was little, and it was my lunch, and I had alphabeti spaghetti, and I was going, Mum, look. And I'd spelt the word bum in my alphabet spaghetti. I think I was barely speaking at the time.
That's fair.
I could say mum,
it's impressive.
and I could say bum.
I mean, there's only certain words you hear at that age a lot.
Exactly. So that was for her that moment where she was like, wow, she's going to be a writer someday. But yeah, I was always really into reading, basically, and always a kind of person of one day I might be a writer, and kind of read a lot of books with that lens as well. I really like that. I really like that way they've written that. I really like that kind of idea. Yeah. And I went to uni to study English, but I became an English teacher. Partly because it's what job do you get with an English degree? Do you know what I mean? And I knew that I wanted to study it, and I just love words, and I love the taste of them and the shape of them. And then basically in lockdown, I joined a writing workshop online from Kevin Peagleday, who's the current Sterling Macker. Okay. And he was offering them for free.
Wow, that'd be cool.
Really cool, and I sort of reignited my remembrance that I, used to write stories, I used to write poems when I was little, and you kind of fall out of doing that kind of thing for fun, or I think there's more of as you get older, there's more of the critical goblin demon on your shoulder, the gremlin. Yes. And so I just started writing a lot of poetry and performing it, and then bloody Scotland, the Crime Writing Festival in Stirling, have a thing every year called Pitch Perfect. Yep. And you just submit 100 words of a story idea, and they'll select 8 people from that to pitch in person to a room full of editors and agents and publicists at their festival, and I was selected. And all I had was an idea, which was this book.
There we go.
And I pitched it, and then within a week I had a book deal, a preemptive book deal, and an agent.
That's quite amazing, isn't it? That is quite a roller coaster. Quite. A lot of pressure on a moment like that. Wow.
Yeah. You can't go into moments like that thinking, this is going to be my big break, or this is the day I get seen, or this is everyone has that, a lot of, people that do make it have that kind of story, where luck and, and preparation meet and all that kind of stuff. But you can't go into those kinds of things thinking that it will be that one. But sometimes it is that. Yeah. And that was.
Wow. That must have been quite a week. Yes. Okay, so you got the deal and you've written the book.
Yes.
And here it is. It must have been quite fun then, putting in your knowledge and experience with whiskey into the book as well. So, do you want to maybe read us a little bit of the book?
Yeah, that would be great.
Or how would you describe the book?
As in, like, what happens, or what's the kind of the
I suppose that it's almost like the pitch you might have had. In the pitch,
so Ailey is a sort of whiskey blogger type person, and her and her wife have jumped at the chance to buy a dilapidated whiskey distillery in Campbelltown that's come up for sale. it was once the whiskey capital of the world, and then they're not. They're loaned up to their eyeballs and all that. BBC Scotland are coming to document their renovations and the women-owned distillery, and they're ready to disrupt the male-dominated whiskey industry. But 2 of the barrels contain dead bodies.
Now this is, the way the book opens is kind of a bit of a heave moment. It's quite in your face.
Good.
It's good. It's good. But it's quite. It's not whiskey you're going to want to taste, really.
No. Although I've since learned that the phrase "tapping the Admiral" comes from. And I always get this wrong. I think it's Nelson, when was killed, was then put into a barrel of brandy or something to help preserve and get carried home. And by the time they got home, there was none of the alcohol left. So they were carrying on drinking the alcohol around his dead body.
That's kind of one heaven, isn't it? It's one version of heaven. Wow. Okay, well that's a good bit of history.
Isn't that interesting?
That's a nugget.
Isn't that interesting?
That'll make it into like the 10-second version. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so, do you want to read us a little bit of the book then?
Yeah, of course,
Take a moment to find it.
Yes.
We'll compress. On you go.
There's, it's written from Amy's perspective, half of it, and the other half is written from the murderer's perspective, you, in second person, starting from the moment of the murders in 1971. So this is that. So am I looking at camera?
You can look straight into that camera.
Chapter 2, you, 1971. You notice the blood only after the last barrel lid has been battered down. It's run all down the mallet and pooled in the frills of your shirt. The others will be here soon. The sun is already creating spotlights along the shelves and floor, and the seabirds outside are insinuating themselves into the morning chorus. You expect your breath to come out in frosty plumes, or maybe fiery flickers after such a cold, dark act. But it's still August, still warm edges to the salt sea winds. First, you clean. You wipe away as much of the blood as possible and grab handfuls of dirt and dust and sawdust from anywhere you can find it. Soak it up, dirty up the barrels. Have them hiding in plain sight in among their brethren. You decide that later you'll roll them into the sea. They're most likely to end up on the coast of Ireland. Then it's not your problem anymore. It was in the news this week. A Catholic priest killed by the British Army. Hundreds arrested and fleeing from their homes. The Irish aren't going to care about 2 dead Scots bobbing along their shores. But now, you have several buckets of whiskey and no clue what to do with them. The cooper is slow and never puts together more barrels than are required, and in the hazy aftermath of the murders, you chose to empty out 2 of the recently filled barrels and shove them in, topping up the space with the newly distilled whiskey. The cracking sound their bodies made was like cat bombs hitting cement.
Wow, that's brilliant, isn't it? Because it evokes a place, it evokes the moment, and it also kind of evokes a bit of the history and the period as well.
Yeah.
So you kind of get a little bit of that taste as well.
Exactly.
So I should mention, we are at the beautiful Lindores Distillery. In Perthshire. We're in Perthshire. We're in Fife.
We're in Fife. We're in the kingdom. We're in the kingdom.
Sorry, Fife. So we're very grateful for them for hosting us today, and we've actually got a little bit of the Abbey behind us. Yeah. So when you were researching the book, did you spend much time up in Campbelltown, or you've been there a number of times?
I've been there a few times. I've got friends and family friends and things that live there, so I've been there a few times in all kinds of weather. The sun, and then trying to navigate those roads in the proper winter.
It's a proper long drive to get to Campbelltown.
It is. And for me, that was part of. There's lots of reasons why Campbelltown was the place I wanted to set my whiskey book. I've always been fascinated with it as a whiskey place, because anywhere that's lost its industry, what now kind of thing. And but also because it's this really long peninsula, it's kind of got a unique geography and a unique feeling about it, and lots of people talk about rural places or islands being isolated, and I think that peninsula has the same feeling to it, you know.
Absolutely.
And when I did go back to visit, whilst I was writing the book, I thought I'll go and I'll walk around and I'll like visit the distilleries and I'll drive around the area and just kind of get another feel for it. There was a big storm and loads of landslides.
Right.
So I was literally trapped. So I thought, oh yeah, this is, you know, I was writing about this and I was going to write about this, and I can attest to the fact that it does indeed happen. You know, these landslides blocking the roads, and then you're just stuck on the peninsula, and you know, ferries don't run there that often, and basically during the winter there's none. And understandably, you know, the islands are prioritised, but I think in general we need more ferries everywhere. You know, so yeah.
Yeah. No, my experience of Campbelltown, I was filming there with, I think it was the Scotch Whisky Association for a new film for them. And we were at Springbank and we did a shot which was looking across the water towards the town, towards Campbelltown. And we decided we wanted like a bottle of whiskey on a piece of wood just above the water.
Yes.
On the horizon. You'd have the town right behind the bottle. It would all nicely line up. So we literally had to wade out into the water.
Did you?
And then of course we didn't have any wellies with us.
It's
so
really seaweedy.
It's all seaweedy and quite slippy. So me and Dave, the cameraman, waded out, and then we just were getting the shot set up perfectly. And then a voice came from behind us saying, "You'll catch your death. You come, I'll get you some nice woolly socks." And it was like one of those scenarios where you're going to go, okay, well, we have to be polite.
Yes.
Somebody's offering help and all the rest of it. And so we put on these big woolly socks, and then we waded out into the water, and we were going, right now we've got damp feet, damp legs, and damp wool.
And when you leave, it's going to be...
and then as we're doing it, and we're slightly getting the giggles because there's just a slightly bizarre scenario, she said, "Oh, I don't worry about giving me the socks back because my husband's dead now." And it was just like one of those moments that will stay with me forever.
Yes,
it was a little bit of kind of local hero kind of character coming out, but. It is an amazing place, and of course you've got Springbank there, great whiskey. So I think what we should do is maybe just read one other little bit from the book, maybe. And then, of course, people can get the book themselves.
They can.
At all the usual outlets.
All the usual places.
All the usual perfect Christmas gift.
It's a perfect Christmas gift for the whiskey lover in your life. For anyone that likes a little bit of crime as well. It was the 4th best-selling title at the Edinburgh Book Festival this year, the Edinburgh International Book Festival.
What a debut novel! Ooh.
So you're missing out if you've not got it already.
So, and are you doing any touring around, meeting people and that sort of thing? Yeah,
I've been doing lots already. I'm going to be down in London actually for the St Andrews Book Festival at the end of this month. I'm going to be up at Aberfeldy Cinema actually. Going to do an event there at the start of December, and I'm going to be at the Bookmonger in January, where we're going to pair some whiskies and cheese.
Well, talking of which, was there any favourite whiskey that you've had or was in the book or anything like that?
There's so many. I don't like really choosing. I kind of go with and
Lindores, of course, got amazing whiskies.
Amazing, and it's my local. I was saying I came to the opening when they just had that Aquavite and
amazing history. We're doing another thing on Lindores as well while we're here, so that'll be in a different podcast. So listen out for that one.
But I did bring a Dalwhinnie with me. This is actually the second bottle I've had this year, because I bought it in the summer because it's called Winter's Gold, and it was really, really hot summer this year. And for some reason I was like, that's what I want. But they kind of sell it more like, it's a perfect dram for Christmas. So I was like, I'm just going to keep it as an all year one. But it is, and it says crafted by the cold, from Scotland's highest and coldest distillery. So they're selling the kind of
I was driving past Dalwhinnie. I've yet to actually go there. It's a beautiful looking distillery when you drive past and you see it from the road.
And I just like anything that's got some sweetness to it.
No, absolutely. Well, let's try a little sip.
Shall we?
Slange. Ooh, good thing. Getting bourbon, ex-bourbon.
Yeah, I definitely get the little hint of apple-y, stewed apple-y, cinnamony. Yeah.
It's very fresh, isn't it? And very light as well. Quite a friendly whiskey to go for.
That's what I think. I often recommend an Authorship for the same reason. Because I think people that are new to whiskey, you don't want to scare them off.
No, absolutely.
You want a nice entry because it is a, and I really feel like there's a whiskey for everyone, or maybe a couple for everyone. And, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like there should be more experimentations with cocktails and things like that. I think gin, one of the reasons gin has been so successful is because it's very much like you have this particular brand of gin with this particular mixer and this particular permutation of like fruit and, and I feel like, I understand appreciating it by itself, but I think that with each one we're picking out these scents and flavors and everything, that there could be more done in that sense as well.
Absolutely. And I think it's something that certainly you're starting to see whiskies experimenting more with, is trying to pair them up, trying to find other ways to sell the whiskey to the market, also to reach new audiences.
Exactly.
I mean, it's that kind of the old men whiskey thing is a really important factor. It's time to, I think it's happening anyway.
Yeah. I've been asked a question along the lines of, do you think the image of the man in the kilt on the, Heather Moors is out? I was like, I still would love men in kilts on Heather Moors, please. Like, absolutely, but like just more variety. And I think, there's always going to be the tension between tradition and experimentation, and there's a place for both, and there's no point in being snobby about it. I think just you like what you like, and
I agree, and I think more women drink whiskey than is generally recognised as well.
Over a third of whiskey drinkers are women. For example, the Our Whiskey Foundation are doing a lot to empower women and non-binary people in the whiskey industry at all levels. From drinking to making to selling. According to it's over a third. So. And it's something I mentioned in the book. It's so that there's still a disconnect somewhere, because when you go to whiskey events, it's still heavily men, and even just speaking to women who work in distilleries and things, a lot of things are still quite male dominated. But but we know there's a lot of women whiskey drinkers out there. So what's the missing link, or what's the key, I guess, to unlocking that, so that they feel like they want to come to whiskey events more? But and I've also, something I mentioned in the book is that we don't necessarily want stuff marketed to women, because it's very easy to go down the like pink pandering, infantilizing route, and that's not necessarily what we want either. But it doesn't always have to be masculine either. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, well, listen, folks, please do check out the rest of the podcast, listen to some of our other episodes as well. Thanks once again for joining us. It's been a pleasure having a chat. Do look up the book. We'll finish off with one other little bit of a read. And we'll leave it there. Cool.
Thank you. I always start a tasting with, a tasting. Sampling the first dram. The quickest way to turn a crowd nasty is to spend the first 20 or more minutes giving context or going on about yourself, and why you're an expert, don't you know, while they watch the condensation run down the sides of their glasses, licking their lips as if this booze is the only thing standing between them and certain death by dehydration. You can almost see the fat teardrops holding fast onto the glass. They run slowly, almost not at all down the sides. In many ways, tasting whiskey and tasting wine are the same. Whiskey is accused of lacking the delicacy of wine, but we have the same intricate stages, the same intense sensory appreciation. Plus, I would argue, much more goes into the process of making whiskey and that sort of seeking of balance. Whiskey is tainted as masculine, smoky, bearded, a dark spirit. I see it as alchemy. A witch's potion, where every incantation, every ingredient is essential to ensure the spell works. It was women's work first, distilling and managing cellars being part of the household jobs. The 5 other women in the room nod at that. Despite women making up 50% of whiskey drinkers in the UK, nothing is marketed towards them, although perhaps we should be grateful, because marketing to women is liable to be pandering pink and glitter and sold in sets with candles or bath bombs. I've never been to a tasting at which more than a quarter of the room have been women, and by my calculation, I've been to hundreds. Next is nosing. Before you nose, please know you don't have to put your whole neb in, your whole nose in. Like a good kiss, lean in most of the way, then let your lover come the final 10%. Right. Give it a go. I don't even want you looking at your tasting cards yet. Just think
of memories. A walk in a forest after the rain. Your mother feeding you medicine and soup. The fire here that most of you have sat beside before. Recall a time you spent next to it with friends. Remember a dram you've had after a round of golf or during a luscious day of reading. What scents come to you? What textures? If you've never been to a tasting before, you don't know that the magic comes with sharing. The flavours and aromas of the drink change as people add to the metaphorical whiteboard of ideas.